Welcome to Dave's Digital Training, where we show you how it's done. Hi folks, this is Dave Higgins. As photographers, we're attracted to certain subject matters, and one of the things that I've always found interesting are doors and windows. Now, with the digital era, this interest has all kinds of new potential because we have the opportunity to put anything we want inside of that door or window and use it as a frame for the subject. And what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to do that using this set of windows that I photographed up at Round Top. Let's open up our Layers palette. So we go on up to Windows, come down here, and we can see here's Layers, there's a keyboard shortcut, and I'm just going to click and open that up. One of the first things I do anytime I'm working on layers is I duplicate my background layer. So I'm going to click on this, drag it down here, and you just go right over the turn corner piece of paper right here. Click, and we can see that it has made us a duplicate copy of the background. Now the reason for doing this is if I'm working and I want to see the difference in what I've done, I can just click this off and see the bottom layer and see the changes. Or if I mess this up in some way, I can always revert back to my background layer. Now what we want to do are make holes where these windows are so that we can put our objects in there. Now I'm going to use the magnifier, which is right down here. Click on that, and I'm going to come out and I'm going to move in. It's always easier to do this work. The larger you can make the area that you're going to work on, the easier it is to control it. Now here we are. Now there are several different ways that we could take this out. But the technique that we're going to use is one of the lasso tools. So I'm going to come on over here and I'm going to click on the lasso right here. And the one I'm going to pick is the polygon lasso tool. Now anytime you're using a selection tool, you're going to get this type of tool palette up here. These four symbols right here are quite important. The first one will only allow you to select one area. Now if you click on the second one right here, you have the ability to select more than one area and not lose your previous selection. So anytime you're doing a selection of something that has more than one selection in it, you always want to click on this one. The other thing you want to make sure you have selected is right here. It's called the anti-alias. If you don't have this, you're going to get all kinds of fringing and weird things happening at the edge of the cut. But if you turn on the anti-alias, then you're going to get nice clean edges. And now we're ready to start. Now as we look at the window, we can see here that we've got things in here that aren't very desirable. We want to get rid of the storm window, and we want to make sure we get rid of the reflection. Well, that's easy, but with the storm window we're going to have to click and cut that out. So I'm going to click right here, and you have to remember where you started because you have to end in exactly the same spot. So I almost always start in a corner because that then allows me to go over, and you can see I just click, drag to my next anchor point, click. Now when you go up here, you're going to see a little zero beside your tool. Now unfortunately with the screen recording software I'm using, you won't see this, but I'll try and put a little sample on the side so you can see what it would look like. So we click, and we now see that that area is selected. Now because we have clicked up here on multiple selections, I can now just go on over to the next pane of the window, click here, click here. It'll go fairly quickly once you get started, and anytime you have a selection where you know you have a straight line selection, this is the best tool to use. And now we have them both. Now I'm not going to have you watch me do this whole thing, so I'm going to jump ahead. Now that we have the areas selected, all we have to do is hit the delete key and the area will become transparent. Now the first thing I have to make sure is the background is not on, because if I do that I'll just see what's back there. Now if I just hit the delete key, we can see that we now have an opening. and that's where the image is going to come through on the window. Now, there's no sense in you watching me do all the rest of these, so I'm going to jump ahead to a point where I have the windows all done. Well, we now have all of our windows opened up so that we can see through them. Now, I have the layers palette down here, and if I turn on the background layer, we can see what it looked like before, and now we can click and see the opening that we have. Now that we've done this, the next step is to move pictures into these openings, and that can be done pretty easily. I'm going to bring an image over, and we can see here's the image. Now, there are several ways I could do this. I could copy this and paste it in, or I can drag and drop it and paste it in. And we're going to use drag and drop. But there's one thing I want to mention. If you're using this technique, you want to make sure that your image does not have multiple layers. If you want to do this and it has multiple layers, just flatten the image, move it, and then undo your flatten, and that way you won't lose anything. Now, I have to click on the four-way tool right up here to do this. I'm going to click right there. Now, when I come down, all I have to do, if I want to do a drag and drop, is click in the original image area and then drag it up to where I want it to be. And if I drag it up, you'll see that I see this dotted box that appears on the screen. And if I drop that in, we now have the image in here. And we can take the image and we can move it around. And I can position this image in whatever way I want. I think that looks pretty good. I don't think I want quite as much of the mud flat. But because the other picture is larger, you can see around the edge here how much larger it is than the window, I have the opportunity to move it around to get the effect that I want. Now, sometimes what will happen when you drop it in is it will appear on top of that, and that's the way it will look. And if that happens, it's pretty easy to fix. Just drag it back down. The topmost layer has to be the window openings. So let's bring another one over. I'll place it right here. I'm going to click, drag, and drop. Move this out of the way. And here's the image, and we can move it around, position it. I want to get those seagulls so they're showing up right. There we go. We have another one in. Now let's place one more. Again, that we can move this and rearrange it. I like those shacks up here in the corner, so I want to place that where I can see them nicely. Okay, I like the reflections. Let's see. I think I'll go with it right like that. Now, you have to try and make sure the light's about the same in each image when you do this, so that the light appears to be very bright outside and it's casting the light inside. Now I'm going to move the layers palette up so that we can see it a little bit better. And I'm going to make the image smaller so that we can see the whole thing. Now this is arranged a little bit better so that we can see everything. Now, as we look at our layers palette, we can see that we have multiple images in here, and this is one of the advantages of doing this, is I can now change the scenes just by turning them on and off. So I could have multiple scenes out of one window. Here's the original. Turn that one off, turn this one back on, and you can see that you could have several different things. So you could put together a whole theme through one window or door, or you could just keep experimenting with different images until you found the one you liked the best, but you wouldn't have to throw anything away until you'd made up your mind. Now, for this to work, it's not quite done. Anytime that you merge two images together, you almost never get an exact color match for the both scenes. So what I usually do is I add a couple layers to the layers palette that will make it look like the images were taken under the same lighting conditions. So I'm going to add a new layer, and I'm going to move this up to show you how to do it. I'm going to click down here. I might as well just move this up, make it easier. There we go. As I click here, you'll see that I have solid color. Now I'm going to click on that, and it's going to give me an opportunity to put a layer in that's a solid color. And I guess I'll just go with that blue for right now, and I'm going to say OK. And we can now next I'm going to want to go over here to the blending modes, and I'm going to come down here to soft light, which is right here, and I'm going to click on that. And that's going to make it so that we can see through this blue layer. And as I go down through and click on the scenes now, you're going to see that they look like they're taken under the same lighting situations. We can see that this whole picture now has a slight blue cast to it. You can also change the opacity if you think it's too much. So let's set it about like that. And now let's get down through, whoops, wrong one. Let's get down through and see what they look like. Now they're beginning to look like they're all taken under the same situation. Now that's a cold interpretation. Let's say I wanted a warm interpretation. I would just click down here again, go back to solid color, and this time I would get down and I'd pick a goldish type color. That yellow's a little too bright. Yeah, let's see. Yeah. Same thing, go on over and do soft light. Now this time you have to crank down the opacity because it's a little too powerful. We just want a hint of warmness in there. I have to shut this off because that was still on. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to take it down just a little bit more. There. Now I can turn that on and off and we can see the difference. Turn that on, turn the blue on, turn that off. So I like the yellow for this scene because it makes it feel much warmer. Let's see how it looks on the other ones. Whoops, I keep clicking on the wrong one. Looks pretty good. Now, you guys know me. I won't be happy unless I can see what it looks like as a black and white. So we're going to go in and we're going to add another layer to that. I'm going to click here on the adjustment layer, and I'm going to get down and I'm going to click on black and white. Now, in this new CS3, we have this choice of different types of black and white filters. I usually pick green because 2/3 of the chip, sensors on the chip, record green. So if you go with green when you make a grayscale image, you're going to get an image with the greatest variation of tonality than you will with any other one of the colors. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to say OK. I'm going to move this back down so we can see a little bit better. And now we can see what the images look like as black and whites. Now we can still add in the color. I can still click here and give it a warmer tone, or I can click here and give it a bluer tone. So by using these top 3 layers, we can make the image look like it was all taken under the same lighting situation. But this is a really interesting technique. I think it really opens up the potential for what you can do with doors and windows. I hope you have fun trying it. See you later. This is Dave, and thanks for watching this presentation.